Hi. One of the most common questions that people ask on foundation programs in solution focus is, what do you do when people answer the best hopes question? You know how it goes. What are your best hopes from our talking together? By saying, I don't know. And the first thing to say is that probably I don't know is the single most common answer that people give us, the most common first answer that people give us to a best hopes question. And so it's pretty important to feel confident in our response. So there are a number of things I think that we can do. And the first thing to do is, honestly, just to wait just a little longer than most of us wait in conversations. And so I start with, so what are your best hopes from our talking together? How will you know this has been useful to you? The client says, I don't know, and I wait. And very often, if I wait just a little longer than most of us do in conversations, the client may well say something on the lines of, well, I suppose it would be, and whatever they say. So the easy situations to deal with are when we just wait and then the client answers. But of course, we may wait and the client doesn't answer. The client repeats, I don't know. I really don't know. And what I think I typically do then is something that I think of as normalizing, really. Saying to people, sure, it's a difficult question. Very often when people come to see someone like me, they've spent a lot of time thinking about what's been bothering them, but much less time thinking about what they might want to get out of our working together. So take your time, have a think. And then again, very often at that point, people will answer. The normalizing, I think, is useful because if people begin to criticize themselves for not answering, then it tends to reduce the likelihood that they will. You know, people start saying to themselves, goodness, I'm so, quietly, of course, secretly, but quietly in their heads, saying to themselves, goodness, I'm so silly, I can't even answer his first question. Then that seems to be likely to fit with an even lower likelihood of people thinking usefully and coming up with an answer. So the normalizing, it's a difficult question. People haven't thought about it. Seems to be useful. And if I do that and add, take your time, have a think, all right? Most people by then are answering. And if they don't, we can say, they say, look, I don't know, I really don't know. And then I think, look, we can soften the question a little. We can say, sure, of course. Acceptance, that's the acceptance of the response. Sure, of course. What do you think? What do you think? What do you imagine might tell you that our talking together has been useful? Thinking and imagining is different from knowing. When we ask, what are your best hopes from our talking together, we're inviting a response that fits with knowing. But when we say, imagine, what do you imagine? What do you think? That's asking for a lesser degree of certainty than what are your best hopes. So it is the same question, and it's not the same question. So we've held our position and we've shifted a little in relation to the client's, I don't know, I really don't know. So we've, as it were, taken account of that response by softening the question. And then again, if the client answers, I don't know, I really, really, really don't know, we can soften again and we can say, have a guess, have a guess. Guessing is different from knowing, it's different from imagining, it's different from thinking. Again, we've held our position and we've taken account of the client's "I don't know" response. Have a guess. Have a guess. All we're asking now is for the client to guess. Look, by this time, virtually everyone has answered the question, except the small number who don't. And if people don't, one of the first things that I might do is talk a little bit about why I'm asking the question. Put the question into a bigger frame. So what I might say at that point is, look, I'm sorry. I've been going on and on and on about this, haven't I? Look, it's not that I'm trying to be difficult. It's just that if I don't know what you want from this, it's going to be so hard for me to get our talking together right for you if I don't know what you want from it. So, what do you think? What do you think? And again, look, by now, virtually everyone has answered. However, if the person sitting with you hasn't, we can, I think, shift to an other person perspective question. And I might ask it in these terms. So, look, of everyone in your life who knows you really well and who wants the best for you, all right? What do you think their best hopes might be? All right? What would tell them, the people, who are close to you, who care about you, who want the best for you, what do you think their best hopes from our talking might be? And again, very often at that point, the client will answer. They say, oh, well, they've been saying this, or they've been saying that, or they say, really, I should be more positive about myself. People are always saying that to me. So at that point, a client can respond. And if they do, then I think it's really, really important that actually we should check out that it may be what the friends might want. It may be what those who care about you might want. But is this right for you? So I would ask, and would that be good for you too, if you are more positive about yourself? We invite people to own it rather than just working towards what other people want for the client, want for the service user. So would that be good for you too? It would be a typical question that I would ask. Now, if the client still hasn't responded, and it's incredibly unlikely, I have to say that, it's incredibly unlikely. I honestly can't remember the last person who hadn't answered by that point. However, if you found yourself with someone who, again, hasn't answered, then the last place I'm going to go, well, the last but one, all right? The last place I'm going to go is to the referrer's perspective. So tell me, whose idea was it for you to come and see me today? All right, well, it was GP's idea. GP wanted me to come. Okay. So what were your GP's best hopes about you coming here? And the person might say, well, the GP thinks, maybe I've been drinking more than is good for me, or I've been depressed or anxious or whatever. Okay. So what were their best hopes? Well, that, I suppose that, I don't know really, that GP was just worried. Sure. So what would tell the GP that this had been useful to you? Well, I suppose if I were drinking less, if you were drinking less, what difference would that be making to your life? Well, I'd be getting on with my life again. And the client describes it. And then again, we would invite the client to take a position. So that's what the GP wants. And would that be good for you? Or is that just something the GP wants for you? All right. Most people at that they've come, after all, will say, yeah, I guess it would be. I guess it would be. However, if you were to meet someone who said, no, that's just something that the GP wants, it's nothing that I want, again, we would go back to, okay, so that's what the GP wants. So what would tell you that this has been useful? What would tell you? All right. Now, it's incredibly unlikely, honestly, incredibly unlikely that the client hasn't answered by now. However, should they not have answered, and this is amazingly unlikely, but should they not have answered by now? I guess theoretically, because I can't remember it happening, theoretically, I would say, okay, look, we'll come back to that. Let's start somewhere else. Maybe I've been trying to go too fast. Right? How do you spend your life? How do you spend your time? What do you enjoy? So maybe some problem-free talk, making a connection with the client before going back to best hopes. All right. So look, there we are. There's a shape, a potential shape anyway, for a conversation when people answer, I don't know. I don't know is the single most common answer that people give us when we ask a best hopes question. And it just doesn't mean that the client can't answer it. All we have to do is to believe that the client can, to believe that our client is not ridiculous. They have come for a reason. They want something. People don't come to see us for no reason at all. They want something. So what is it they want? And remembering that everyone can answer the question. The risk is that we stop believing in our client, that we give up on our client, and somehow we feel defeated and we go off and do something else. That is not useful. That is not useful. So look, there we are. Let's pause there. And I hope in some way that this conversation has been of some use to you. Let me know.